Good morning / afternoon. Welcome to today's Spot Emergency Assistance webinar. My name is Spencer Kilpack, and I am Spot's Implementation Manager. Today, I am joined by a handful of additional Spot staff from my team and additionally Wash Respis from our sales team. We've got Tyler Norton, Tammy Miller, and Nicole Kirby with us. If you guys want to say hi, feel free.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
All right. So we've got a handful of registrants that have not yet joined the call, so we'll give it just a little bit. In the meantime, Nicole is going to be our presenter today. I will be moderating, and our other friends here will be pitching in some some additional input as they have. The first thing that I'd like to do today is I'm going to launch a poll here. And this is an interactive poll. If you just want to select, the first thing I'm just going to ask, obviously with the spread of COVID-19 and the massive impact that it's had across the country, we're really interested in finding out what steps you are taking to alleviate the burden on your business. So I'm going to go ahead and launch this. And you can select any of these that apply, whether it's reducing store hours or days, closing your store lobbies, and going to drive-through or curbside service only, or temporary closure of select stores, or really pushing customers to home delivery. Looks like we've got about half of you have selected an option thus far. We'll give it probably about another 30 seconds. And then we'll go ahead and put up the results of that poll. Not a lot of surprises here. I am surprised. Normally we see not a ton of surprises here, but we'll put that up here and run it another 15 seconds or so. Got 83% of you have voted. All right, so we'll go ahead and close it. And so it looks like what we're seeing is, kind of not super surprising. We do normally see a little bit more temporary closure of select stores, but closing store lobbies, going to drive-through and curbside service, reducing store hours and days. Most of you are definitely doing that, and then a good portion of you are pushing customers to home delivery. So. Some additional pieces of feedback that we've received here, whether it's reducing store hours or days, or specifically in terms of closing store lobbies or doing curbside service, we have heard of a handful of customers who are putting up signs for specifically for curbside service. Others are asking customers just pull up in front of the store and honk, and we'll come out and take care of you. Nicole and everybody else, what else have you heard regarding how customers are managing through this?
Yeah, basically what you're saying, and if you have a drive-through, go into drive-through only. Closing up the lobbies. Lots of changes in store hours and days of service. The days of service is one that I've had a lot of with customers, specifically Wednesdays and Sundays if Sundays are open.
Yep.
Seen a lot of drop stores temporarily closing and plants staying open, and deliveries going to 1 day a week instead of twice a week.
Yep. What I've also seen is same-day service. Plants are shutting down, going to 2 to 3 days a week instead of 5 days a week in production. So we'll see. Promise dates are having to get modified. I had a couple of customers. One went to Monday and Thursday is when their plant was open. And so they were still offering same day, but only on Monday and Thursday when the plant was actually running. So definitely some creative and drastic measures being taken to help alleviate the burden. And at this time, if you're new to the webinar process, you have a webinar console there. On the webinar console, there is a hand icon. If you click that hand icon, that'll indicate to me that you have a question or something to share. And at that point, I can unmute you. Additionally, you can submit any questions or comments using the questions pane. We also have a chat pane that you can submit those through as well. So anything that you would and any feedback that you would like to provide, you can provide through any of those methods. I would, if anybody has anything specific that they're doing in their business that they would like to share with the group, that would be very, very nice to see. But at this point, we'll go ahead and move on to our next poll. So the second poll is really what steps, or I'm sorry, what are you, my poll isn't, I guess I have to hide this first. There we go. We'll move on to our next poll. And that is, what are you most interested in learning from today's webinar? And I'd like you to select one of these. These webinars are typically somewhat fluid in nature. We are more than happy to address specific concerns, specific questions from each of you. Otherwise, we do have a little bit of standalone or planned content that we'll be happy to provide. But I'll go ahead and launch that poll now. So if you could select one of these, what is it that you are most interested in learning about from today's webinar? And if the first four options aren't available, go ahead and select that last one and then submit your question through the question.
Hey, Spencer.
Yes.
While they're doing that, I just want, one of the things that people may or may not have thought about is I've seen a lot of people, at least in our area, and I'm sure other areas, they've seen a lot of the local restaurants promoting people buying gift cards or gift certificates or something like that. And that's something that maybe this group should at least consider. They may get some bang of, selling gift cards or gift certificates, and with a little kicker on it. So, sell a gift card for $50 and get $10 in free cleaning or something like that. So it's something to consider.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
And if gift cards is something you're interested in learning about, we can talk about the process on spot as well.
Yep. Right. Okay. Looks like we got about 60% of the vote in here. And kind of all over the place. Looks like we've got most of you, a handful of you are looking to find out what steps other people have taken. Some of you want to learn about mass email, some want to learn about routes and delivery, and then some additional questions that may come up throughout this process. So give it another 15 seconds. We've got about 70% of the vote is in. All right, we'll go ahead and close it and put those results up. Yeah. So 40% are just kind of here to find out what steps others have taken, how what has worked for other folks, and again that may be contingent upon getting some participation. So again, if you have something to share, I very much encourage you to share that with the others in the group. And then mass email and SMS, and learning about routes and home delivery, which are probably the two most common requests. So we'll go ahead and hide this. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and let Nicole Nicole take over from here. And
Alright.
the first thing that I'd like to go through, maybe if we want to touch on the mass email and SMS, obviously Nicole has a few other things that she'll show you here as well.
Hello. All right. So let's start off with just a quick review. Our YouTube page, so youtube.com/spotposmedia. These webinars that we have been having, I believe this is our 6th one, are being uploaded to our YouTube page. So if you would like to watch one of the other webinars, our very first one that was held on the 18th did have, I believe, around 50 attendees. So there were some ideas being shared and things like that. And then 2 of the common questions we've been getting using batch email and SMS and changing promise dates. We have some videos up there for you as well. We're going to go through that here, but if you need something to refer back to, this could be a good resource for you.
Is
All right.
everyone able to see Nicole's screen? I'm just seeing part of the old quick poll.
I only see the poll.
Yeah, give me just a second. Let me see. Let me try hiding that again. Nicole, if you want to try resharing your screen.
Let me pause it and then put it back. Let's see. How about that? Can you see my screen now?
No. Give me just a second. I'm going to take presenter for a second.
Okay.
It decided to kind of get hung up on that. It's kind of interesting. Okay, did that switch? Let's see, there we go. All right, so now let me give it back to you. All right, go ahead and share your screen. Sorry about that.
All right. Can you see me now?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So this is just what I was pointing out, our YouTube page and some of the webinars that we have, along with that using batch email and changing and creating new promise dates. Those are some of the common things we've gone over on these webinars, and feel free to refer back to those videos if you need any additional assistance after we go over it here. So sending batch email and or SMS in Spot, there are some prerequisites. You do need to have a Twilio account set up and configured in Spot, as well as if you're going to send emails, you need to have your email set up. Spencer will put in the handout section of this webinar our Twilio Quick Start Guide that will walk you through that process if you do need to get a Twilio account set up if you don't have one yet. That is specifically if you want to send the text messages, the SMS to customers. So to start off with, let's go over how the batch email and SMS works. You have ways in Spot to send communications en masse to your customers. And the easiest one of those to use is probably our batch email and SMS function. So if we come up here to menu and come to email messaging, you will see a email SMS batch. Select that. And then we're going to choose, do we want to send an email or an SMS? Let's choose SMS. And from here, we have 3 steps. Select the recipient, so who are we sending it to, compose our message, and then send the message. So each of these steps, we're going to follow along here. Select stores and or routes for the first step. Now you can send messages just to counter customers if you wanted to do that. You can send it just to routes or to specific routes if you'd like to choose specific routes, as well as hotels if you have hotels in your system. You can also just send it to everybody by checking the top box. And if you have multiple stores, you'll see your stores will be broken out here as well. Once you've done that and chosen which stores and or routes you want, we're going to select. And what Spot's going to load up here is all of the customers in those stores or routes that have a cell phone number on file, because I chose SMS. If you choose that you want to send an email, after you select your stores and routes, you'll get a list of the customers that have an email address on file. So after we've selected our recipients, we're going to move over to Compose. And in the Compose area is where you're going to write your text message or your email. One very helpful thing that Spot has when it comes to email and SMS is what we call tokens. So if you see here, I typed hello at first name. That at first name is a token that will replace that field with the customer's first name from their Spot account. When you do that, the message looks a little bit more personalized. Instead of just saying hello customer, you have the customer's first name in there. A list of those tokens can be found on our documentation site. So if you come to help.spotpos.com, you can search In this case, I searched SMS token, so it's still doing what it did yesterday, Spencer. What the heck? Hold on.
Go back to yeah.
Yeah, I'll just do this way.
You might need to clear your
Sorry.
cache on your
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that later today. So search SMS token, and you should be returned a variety of different articles that will show you different tokens that are available. So if I choose this one, for example, if we come to customer, these are the different customer type tokens that you have available. You also have some company tokens, store tokens, so like store name, store phone number. Those are all things that you can use a token for. By far and away, you're going to use first name more than anything else. It is very important that if you are going to use a token, that you remember to do it exactly like our documentation has it. All capitals, no spaces, with the @ symbol in front of it. If you put a space between here, your message will go to the customer looking just like that. Make sure that you do that. And then here, we're going to write the rest of our message. So this is a test. You'll notice a character count down here in the bottom left corner of this window, and that's just telling you how many characters you're at so far with your message. You do want to be careful to try to stay under that 160 character limit, or you will be charged for an additional text message if you go over it. So it will allow you to send a message that is over 160 characters, but if you do so, you'll be charged for 2 messages when it sends through Twilio. All right, once you've got your message composed, double check your spelling, your punctuation, make sure everything looks nice. When you're ready, come to the Send tab and click Send. From here, yes.
One question that came up, Nicole. You go back to your Compose tab. We do have a question. Do we have the ability to add opt-out ability to a text?
Yes. So as part of your text message, you can do at the end of your message something like this: stop equals end messages, or stop equals unsubscribe. And if somebody replies stop to the message, it will unsubscribe them through Twilio from receiving messages. Additionally, they can reply start if they have replied stop to start receiving those messages again. That's a good question.
And this opt-out is all controlled specifically by Twilio. You will see those stop replies in your notification center. You will see those replies, but you don't need to do anything to the customer's account. Twilio will by default just unsubscribe that customer and ignore any further text requests that you send to that customer.
So Spencer's breaking up just a little bit there, so just to make sure everybody heard that, is that happens on the Twilio side, and there's not really anything you need to do. All right.
Perfect.
Sorry. I will come back over to Send now. This is the last step in the process. Now, depending on how many recipients are selected, here we only have a handful. There's 11 people that would receive this text message. Most likely in your system, you are going to have thousands of customers, depending on how many stores you select. This process can take a while to send all of those messages. So a couple things to keep in mind is, one, make sure you're doing this at an appropriate time of the day. Don't start it, at 7 o'clock at night and let it run. It may take a couple of hours depending on how many customers you have selected. Also, make sure that you are doing this from a workstation that you don't need for something else, because this workstation will be tied up sending these messages while this tool runs. So those are just 2 things to keep in mind. And then all we have to do is click the Send button, and that message will start sending. You'll see the names will populate here, and they'll be crossed out as the messages are sent. The process for email works exactly the same. You're going to come to Menu, Email Messaging, and Email SMS Batch. From here, you would just select Email instead of SMS, and then we have the 3-step process just like you do with the SMS. One slight difference with the email tool is that when you come to the Send tab, you'll notice the Send button is grayed out. You send a preview first, put in your own email address, and that will then send you the message so you can make sure it looks the way you want it to look before you send it out to your customers. So that process is pretty straightforward. That's one of the ways that you can send text messages to customers. If customers reply to those messages, those are going to come up here to what we call the notification center, or relatively new in Spot, you have a notifications tab down here at the bottom that will show you incoming notifications. Now, Spencer made a good point that this is a setting that you can set this as the default. On a previous call, he mentioned it might be a good idea to turn the notifications on as the default on your office type workstations, where you may not need to see the production commitment like we do, on the production floor at the counter. So replies will come here. If you're just sending out an update on store hours and things like that, you may just get a handful of thank you replies, not a whole lot of things that you need to respond to. But when you come into the notification center, if there is a text message or an email that a customer that needs a reply, you can reply to that customer right here by typing your message and clicking send. So you can actually have the conversation through the notification center. That as well saves on the messages tab of the customer record. So if you go to a customer account, you can go to the messages tab and see your conversations with the customer. I'll bring that up real quick just so you can see that. While I bring this up, with just a kind of a show of hands, is anybody on the call not using SMS yet? If you'll let us know that, I just want to show you a couple of additional things that you'll need to do. And this messages tab here is what I was talking about, where you will see those replies and your messages to the customers. That'll be here. Anybody raise their hand, Spencer?
No.
Okay. I'm going to take that to mean that anybody that's on the call that's interested in SMS is already doing it and does not need the additional setup. But I did want to point out one setting that is
We did get one hand just raised from Jamie.
Okay. So let's look at this first, and then I just want to quickly run through the validation tool. But anybody that's using SMS in Spot, you should go check your store settings and make sure you have this setting that I'm about to show you enabled. So if you come into program configuration and go to store, we're going to come over and click on customer settings and then scroll all the way to the bottom of this list. Make sure that you have a check mark in this box, verify phone type on save. What that will do is when you save a customer or save a new customer, or you change a phone number on an existing customer, in the background when you save, that number is going to be sent to Twilio, and Twilio is going to tell Spot whether or not that's a cell phone number. And it will set it properly in Spot and mark it as validated. If you are new to Spot or to SMS in Spot, one of the things you want to do after you get your Twilio account all set up is come to Menu, Email Messaging, and SMS Validate Phone Numbers. What this tool will do is basically what I just said will happen with that other setting. It's going to take your customers and send their phone numbers to Twilio, and Twilio is going to tell Spot whether or not that's a cell phone number. So I just selected all of my stores and routes. When I click Validate, and it's pretty fast, you'll see it's milliseconds each. It'll tell you over here in the result whether or not it was a mobile and if it was corrected in Spot. This way, you're only attempting to send messages to customers who actually have a cell phone. And Spot will not send a text message to a phone that is not marked cell mobile in the customer record. And that is just, let's look at that real quick. We'll just pick a customer. Dry Clean Planet. This phone number is set to cell mobile, so that would be one Spot would attempt to send a text message to. That doesn't necessarily mean that this actually is a cell phone number, though. You could have just selected cell phone. The validation tool validates that it is. All right. Did we have any questions, Spencer?
Nothing currently.
All right. If anybody has any questions about the email or SMS tool, feel free to either raise your hand, unmute yourself and speak, or ask them through the questions tab. While we see if anybody has any questions, I just wanted to show you that there are some additional ways to send emails or SMS to customers. An example I've been giving on these calls is a customer wanted to send a text message just to her customers that had in-store orders with an offer to deliver those orders as they were closing some of their stores. So to do that, we went to search. And you'll notice this batch operations button down here. This is available from any of our search results screens. So if I come to search and I go to current inventory, which is all of the orders that are currently racked in the store, then I can come to batch operations. It's going to select all of those orders, select operation. What do I want to do? Send a batch SMS, and then perform operation. That will in turn take us to the tool that we just reviewed. And the process from here is exactly the same. It's just we're filtering a little bit who we're sending those messages to before they're sent out. An additional thing that's come up, and it's a really good point in some of these calls, was that some people had really old customers in their database and didn't want to send messages to customers who, were not active. We do have a tool in Spot where you can go set customers as inactive if they haven't used you in a set time period. And that's relatively simple to do, but you want to be careful with it. So we come up to menu, tools, and data purge. We'll come to the customers tab, and this date, whatever date you set here, will be the last day that customer had activity. So any customers who have not had activity since that date, whatever date you populate here, would be set as inactive if we run this tool. I would also suggest checking these two boxes. Don't inactivate a customer if they have an AR balance or if they have a pickup, and then go to inactivate customers, and that will set them as inactive in Spot. It does not delete the customer, it's just setting them as inactive. And if they ever come back to the store and you went to create a new account for them, provided they still have the same information, same name, same phone number, you will get a warning saying that there is an inactive customer that matches that, and you can reactivate that customer right from that screen. So if you do that ahead of time before you send some of these batch emails or SMS messages, you'll ensure that you're only sending them to customers who have used you, let's say in the last 18 months, if you went back 18 months on that tool. All right, I'm going to pause, see if there's any other questions or any additional information that anybody needs. And Spot team, if you have anything to add, feel free.
We do have a question from Fred. Fred, you're unmuted.
You may have to unmute yourself.
He's fully, he should be open.
If you are speaking, we can't hear you. Maybe submit your question through the questions tab. We'll give it just a second.
Yeah. It looks like he just he might be connecting through the phone now.
I'm sorry, you might what?
Looks like he's trying to connect through the phone now. Let's see.
Oh, okay. Well, while we wait, your poll results, Spencer, it was email, SMS, and then what was the other main topic people were interested in?
The other main topic was just finding out what others are doing.
Okay.
And routes, I should say.
Well, if we want to move on to some other topics, if we're able to get your question out there, we will answer it. So see if we can either hear you, or if you want to type a question in the questions pane, we'll see if we can answer that for you. So when it comes to routes, those of you that were interested in routes, what specifically are you interested in? One of the common things I can tell you that I've been seeing a lot of over the last week is moving routes to on-demand service. If you are doing text messaging already in Spot, you have the ability to set up interactive reminders for customers. So as an example, let's say you only wanted to go to customers who say, yes, I have a pickup. You could set your customers to on-demand customers in Spot, and we could set up that text messaging with you. And what would happen is they would get a text message the evening before. their service day, letting them know that ABC Cleaners will be in your area for pickup tomorrow. Please reply yes if you have a pickup, and we'll see you then. And if they reply yes, Spot will automatically schedule a pickup for them for that day. So that way you're only going to customers who say that they actually need service. That's one of the really common things that I've seen people going to over the last 10 days or so. And if anybody does have specific questions about routes, I believe, Spencer, is today our route webinar?
No, today is Route Track. Next Wednesday would be the standard route webinar.
Let's go look at our webinar schedule here. So if you are brand new to routes in Spot, we do have a route training webinar every other Wednesday that you can sign up for. If you come to route training, you'll see the available dates that we have for those. So the next one available is April 1st, which is next Wednesday. You can register for that and go through the really basic operations of routes if it's not something you're currently doing in Spot. Additionally, on our YouTube page, which I closed, we have several pre-recorded webinars on here about routes. So if you come to either videos, you can see a list of all of our videos. And this one, although this is this route training webinar here would be a good one, even though this is about a year old, this recording, the core operations as far as routes go in Spot have not changed really since then. So this would still be a good one to view. And you could also come to playlists and see the different ones that we have, Spot training, webinars, and that'll give you videos that are that topic related. So those are some resources available to you if you're new to routes. And again, if anybody has any specific questions about route operations during these times, feel free to ask them. Routes are a large topic, so if I dive into just talking about them, we could go on for quite a long time. If there's specific questions, though, I'd prefer to do it that way.
Nothing specific regarding routes just yet, but we did get Fred's question. He was looking for the cost per text, and I did answer that question in the chat there, Fred. But it is for everybody else, it's 0.75 cents per text, so 3/4 of a penny per text that you send.
And then the validation that we spoke about, where Twilio validates the phone number, I believe is half a penny, right, Spencer?
That is correct.
All right. So just some other things. If nobody has specific questions on the emails or the routes, a couple of other things that I can throw out there that we've done if you were interested in hearing about them on this call. Changing promise dates, changing store hours. These have been common questions over the last few days. Is anybody interested in hearing about either of those topics?
Promise dates.
Okay. So I'll point out again that the promise date video is available on our YouTube page. Feel free to refer back to that. Let's just touch on it here. So you're going to come into program configuration. Promise dates are part of your price tables in Spot. So we're going to get to the price tables by coming to company settings. Maybe. Mark-in settings and expand that, and then we'll see your price tables. So if we expand price tables, each operation is unique. You may have a single price table, you might have 15 of them. Whichever price tables you are using, you may need to adjust promise dates for each of them. In this case, I know that the store uses the general price table, so I'm going to choose that one. And once you select a price table, give it a few seconds and you'll see some things populate underneath. One of those is promise dates. So if we come to promise dates, you can see we've done this quite a few times on these webinars. These are all new promise date schedules that I've created while we were doing webinars. Our suggestion is to create a new promise date schedule for this temporary change in your store hours or days of service instead of editing your current one, because putting the new one in place or putting the old one back in place will be much easier when store hours normalize than it would to go and edit your promise dates again. So let's create a new promise date schedule. We come to promise dates and click add. We'll give it a name. So I'm going to call this one PD5. And then promise date here, click edit, and that will open up your promise date schedule. There's a lot of information on this screen, but it's really not that difficult once you understand how it works. So across the left-hand side or down the left-hand side is your departments from your price table. Across the top is the days of the week when that order was created. So as an example, today is Wednesday, I think. If I dropped off dry cleaning today, which is Wednesday, before noon, that's what this time is, my promise date would be Thursday, and afternoon, my promise date would be Friday. You can adjust those days by clicking on a cell. You can change the cutoff time. You can change your day before and your day after. If you do not have a cutoff time, you can just set them both to the same day. So if I want dry cleaning, all dry cleaning that was dropped off on Wednesday to be back Friday, I could set my promise date before, or my day before cutoff and my day after cutoff both to Friday. Additionally, to make this a little faster for you, you can select multiple cells at once. So let's say items, dry cleaning, shirt, laundry, and household all have the same promise date schedule. I can highlight all of those and say for Monday, any of those items that are dropped off, they are going to be promised for Thursday. And you'll see in turn that changed all of those cells at once instead of having to do them one by one. Our promise dates go out quite far. So if you see a 1 in front of a day, that's 1 week, 1 Monday away. If you see a 2, that's 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So you can see those. And eventually down here, we also get into months. If you do have anything that's promised out months in advance, you'll see the number and then M afterwards. All right, so what you need to do to adjust your promise dates is go through each cell and set the proper date and cutoff time if you have cutoff times. Once you're done with that, down here at the bottom is your promised time. 5 o'clock is probably the most standard across the boards for dry cleaners. Your order will be ready Tuesday after 5. But if you're changing store hours and or plant hours and you need those up to be a little bit earlier, you can change that simply just by clicking on the cell and typing over. So I'm changing this to 3 o'clock p.m. just by typing 03 on each of these. So you can change those. Once you've got everything changed, click OK and save that new promise date schedule. Once that's been saved, we can then go into the store settings and tell the store to use that new promise date schedule. So we'll wait for it to completely save here and then go back into program configuration. You know, I have a shortcut to enter my PIN number for me, and I'm just so used to typing it manually, I keep doing it. Store settings, mark-in settings, and here we'll see your promise date assignments. Now this here is where you see which price table a store is using. So if you're not sure which of your price tables your store is using, you can see that here, store settings, mark-in settings. Here's our default price table. To change the promise date assignment for that price table, we're going to click edit here. Give it a minute while it loads your price table. And then we'll see here, if I scroll down, this one is using the general price table. So if I want to change this to my new promise dates I just created, I'm going to choose that PD5 that I just created from the drop down here. Now, additionally, if you are also changing days of service for routes, you can create promise dates for routes specifically within your price table. And those are assigned at the route level. So store settings, routes, click on a route name, and you'll see here your price table and your promise date schedule. So this route is using the same price table as the store, but it doesn't necessarily have to use the same promise dates as the store. Maybe this route uses this promise date schedule. So you can have a single price table using multiple promise date tables at the route level and store level. That's how you change those. Now, when store hours normalize again and you're able to change things back, you can just come to this same place and choose your old promise date table. And that will make it a lot easier than having to go back and change that whole thing that we just went over. All right, when you're done making those changes, just save, and your promise dates have been updated. Now, that is just your default promise dates. That does not mean that your staff does not have the ability to change a promise date on an order. This is just what the default recommended promise date is. So I'll pause for a moment again, see if there's any questions.
Nothing just yet. Let's see if there's anything else.
And even if it's not related to this topic at this point, I would say if anybody just has any general questions or any other topics that they are interested or concerned about at the moment. All right, Spencer, I'll let you take it from here. See if you want to continue. Is there anything else you want me to review, or if we don't have any questions?
We do have a hand raised from Cynthia. Go ahead, you're unmuted.
Hello, I just one comment before my question. You'll be very proud of me. I did change my promise date for my store and my routes, and it worked perfectly. So the fact that I listened to you do that 3 times, and I watched the video.
You
but
must be really sick
now.
of my voice by now.
No, I find you have a very relaxing voice. I stopped the video, play it back. But my question is, I'm a long-term franchise owner, and my routes are set up rather traditionally, where my customers have accounts, and I bill them once a month. And now that we're going to this time where pickup and delivery, they're like few and far between, that I don't know that I want to keep waiting, weeks before I bill them. And I understand, but I know nothing about how you can actually charge their card on file when you make a delivery, or if not at the time of the delivery, when you get back to the spot.
So let's go over that. There's a couple of important things to note to start off with. So let me go pick a random route customer here, Mr. Mark Jones. And if we come into the customer account and come to the ARCC tab, there is a really important setting that controls how a customer's card is charged. Now, this customer does not have a credit card on file, so it doesn't really matter. But if the customer has both an AR account and a card on file, this setting right here controls how that card is used. So you would want to switch this to default to credit card, only use the account if the card declines. If you make that change, what will happen, and there's a couple of different options that you have. My recommendation would be to turn on the setting that we have to prepay the manifest. What that'll do is it'll charge the card when your driver creates the manifest. That way you know ahead of time if something declines, you can call the customer. I don't really know of anybody who doesn't deliver the orders, but I'm sure it happens. You have some options there, though, if you prepay the manifest. So number 1 is this setting needs to be changed. Number 2 is that if you want to prepay the manifest, there is a store setting. So if we come into program configuration, come over to store settings, and then click on route settings, you'll see this prepay orders during manifest creation. You'll want to set that to default to yes. And if you don't do that, the other option is if you're using RouteTrack, it's good to have this on. If you are not using RouteTrack and you're just using a traditional paper manifest, the cards will be charged when the post orders button is selected. So that's one of the steps that you likely are taking, post orders down here if you're not using RouteTrack. And when you post orders and click post, that's when that credit card would be charged if you don't do the prepay. But the prepay, I feel, is the best option there. One thing to point out, too, is there is a user right as well tied to prepaying the manifest. So if we come to users groups rights, and now I'm going to shoot myself in the foot because I'm going to have to dig for where that setting is. But I'm pretty sure it's under cashier, prepay route orders. Whew, I found it the first try. So if you go to cashier and enable prepay route orders for any of the user groups that would need to perform that function, If you want to move in that direction, make sure you enable the rights for it, or they won't be able to do it. All right, does that cover your question, or do you have any additional questions on how that works?
So that looks good. I just have one question. When the customer gets charged, if they have, an order would be broken up into a couple of different tickets. Is it charged as a total, or is each ticket charged?
It would be charged as a total. With both the prepay manifest and the post orders, it will be charged as a total of whatever orders that customer has on that manifest.
Okay. Okay, that sounds great. Thank you.
You are very welcome.
But I will have to listen to you again to make that work.
I'm happy to show you again if you'd like me to go over it again right now. Otherwise, feel free to listen to my voice as long as you want to on YouTube.
No, it makes sense that I know the places that you showed. It's just, when I actually do it, I'll probably panic, but it's okay. I'll watch your video.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Okay. So the next question, if this is not the best time, let's see, we'll skip over the intro because it is the right time. How do you group route customers so that all live in one building? So in Route Track, it counts as one stop. So how do we set up a multi-customer stop?
All righty. Setting up a multiple customer stop is very simple if you're doing it from scratch, but it's a little bit more complicated if all of those customers are already on the route. Because we'll have to remove the stops that you want to make the sub-stops before you can insert them into another stop on the route. So as an example, let's say Mark Jones is a building and all of these other people with the same address all live there. Let's use Test AR as our master stop, and then we have Mark, Poe, and Coleman that live there. So I'm going to take these customers, and it's probably a good idea before you do this, before you make any changes, come down to this Print Route Report button, do it by stop number, and just print this out. Then you have a list to work with. Because we have to remove the customer before we can create the multiple customer stop, you don't want to forget anybody. So this will be a good tool for you to have to do this process. And then I'm going to remove these three stops, so I can drag and highlight all three of them and click remove stop down here. Are you sure? Yes. And then I want to make them all part of this Test AR stop. So to do that, I'm going to come to edit stop down here and use this insert button instead of the insert stop button here. What that will do is it will insert those customers as a sub-stop of the customer that we just selected. So I'm going to say, no, I don't want to use this customer's address. This is going to be my address. Insert again. And we've got Cheryl back on there. And then insert again to put Coleman George back. So now I've got 4 people that are all stop number 2. And if I click OK here, you'll see these are all stop number 2, and Route Track will have it as a single stop with multiple customers. Now, this was just an example. My actual suggestion would be to create a stop in your route for the building or the business or the apartment. Make a customer, even though that account isn't going to have any orders, you could insert a stop on the route and call it building 123 and have the proper address and all of that there, and then put all of your actual customers as sub-stops of that building.
And Nicole, on that stop that or on that route that you're on right now, if you scroll down near the bottom, there should already be one in place, and you'll see there's all of those
Yep.
customers there.
All of those customers are all stop number 35. So this route now has 2, or actually 3. Here's another one. Those are both stop 14, multiple stop customers. Or multiple customer stops, I guess is the proper way to say that.
Yes.
So just be careful that you get everybody back on the route. So that's why I suggest come down to this Print Route Report before you start making any modifications. That way you can go through and check people off as you add them back on the route. All right. Now that process is different if you happen to be one of our delivery console customers, but I'm assuming nobody on this call is.
Right. Next question. I currently use a single email to all stores. I do not have Twilio. I do not have the notifications bell working at the top next to the login button. I only respond to emails through my regular email account or my phone or computer. It would be nice or very helpful if employees could respond to emails at each store. I'm not sure how to make this happen.
So that is possible, but I would caution you that if you want to clean up your email box, so if you have, let's say it's just a general customer service at mydrycleaners.com email that all these are going to, clean up your mailbox first, delete any old stuff, because we can turn on a setting for those emails to come into Spot, but you will also get all of your junk emails. If you get advertisements and stuff like that come into that email address, those are going to come into Spot as well. I wouldn't even say that I'm that familiar with how to do this. I know it's done through our scheduled tasks, and if anybody else on my team wants to take this part of it, feel free to. Scheduled tasks, we would add a task, and that would be a email scan, something like that.
Yep,
we have a handout on it.
Email inbox
there we
sweep.
go. Email inbox sweep. This would probably be something that you would do with support. I'm going to call this one email inbox sweep. We are going to run this as, doesn't matter, just pick a workstation. When do you want it to start? When do you want it to end? And how often do you want it to scan your email inbox? So that's a number of minutes. I believe, Spencer, you said the minimum number is 5.
Yeah. The lowest you can set it is 5.
The lowest you can go is every 5 minutes. And what this will do is this tool will go out and scan your email inbox for any new messages every 15 minutes and bring those into the notification center. There are some additional steps here. So you'll need this information, your POP3 server, port, username, password, and authentication method. Once you fill those fields out, save this, and that process will start happening. But please clean up your email inbox first. I say that only because I did this with more than one customer, and we had several thousand junk emails that came into Spot that they had to go clean out because they just hadn't cleaned their email inbox. All right.
So if you want to continue setting that up, you can certainly reach out to our support team. They can assist you with that.
I'm wondering, I know we have a handout on it somewhere. I can find it and maybe we can include it on one of our additional calls.
Yeah.
I don't want to dig through and find it right now.
Jamie, so the question is, can I add this to only one station? No, the answer to that is you can actually add it to multiple stations. You would just need to set up the notification center on whichever stations you wish to have that working.
And I'll show you where that is. It's program configuration, workstation settings. You're going to come over to system menu settings on the left. And this here, notification center scope, is what you want to set. Your choices are disabled, meaning it's off. Current store, meaning this store can see notifications for this store's replies to text messages and stuff, or all stores, meaning you see notifications for all stores. If it's set to disabled, you don't have a bell. Otherwise, one of the other options will give you the bell at the top of the screen.
Yep. All right. At this point, there's no other questions currently, but I would like to launch our final poll. And this is just kind of some information that we've been curious about. And what we're really curious about is how has your product mix or service mix changed throughout this crisis? Really, are you having a larger ratio of laundry? Are you getting more bulk laundry or wash and fold? So I'm just going to go ahead and put this poll up. You could give us some. We're just kind of looking for some more information from our customers, kind of to quantify the impact that this has had on the industry. Okay. Got about 75% of the votes. Give it another 10 seconds or so. All right, we'll go ahead and close this and share these. So it looks like kind of across the board, some of you have seen no change. Some of you are seeing more laundry. Some of you are seeing more dry cleaning, and some of you are seeing more wash and fold or bulk laundry. So that's kind of across the board. So that I just wanted to I just appreciate you taking the time to let us know. We're just trying to get some more information on how this has impacted our customers, and this is very helpful. Thank you. Okay. Are there any other questions out there? Anything else that we can help you out with?
Yeah, anything else that you can think of that we could do here at Spot to help you out during this time, feel free to ask.
Not seeing anything just yet. So unless we see any in the next minute or so, we'll go ahead and call it for today. One of the questions I've gotten is, are we going to continue doing these webinars beyond this week? And right now the answer to that is yes. I think we're not going to do them every day, but starting next week, I think we'll move to a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. When you say, Jamie, there is a question. It says, is anyone providing any special service related to the situation we're facing? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Can you elaborate?
Yeah, just can you hear me?
Yeah.
I was just curious. The stores are pretty dead, and we're open very few hours. But I always keep thinking, is there anything we can do to provide cleaning services to the people that are out there on the front lines, And but I'm not sure which way to go. But I'm just wondering if someone has been able to do it and understand what they did to accomplish that.
I can talk a little bit about that, and any of the other Spot team members that has any input. I have talked to several customers who have reached out to their local fire and police departments to let them know that they're still open and willing to clean their uniforms. I did have 2 customers yesterday who talked to me about doing a bunch of bulk laundry for hospitals, but it was massive poundage that they were requesting. So you have to have probably a relatively large plant to handle that. And there were some talks about, safety for employees and things like that. So there's certain considerations to take when talking about something like that as well. But, letting your customers know you're still here is probably the first thing to do. So if you haven't done any of these communications, emails or SMS, that's probably the first step to take. And then any of my team members that's heard anything else, feel free.
Thank you very much.
Of course.
I do see Cynthia's hand raised. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're not doing anything for people other than who our customers are, but this is typically a spring cleaning time of year. And with the concern about, illness and virus and everything else, we found that we are doing, well, we actually put out when in our our bulk email that, you know, it's spring cleaning time. We know you're home and you have time to clean. So we're offering 25% off any household item from now until the end of April. And we have so many comforters. It isn't funny. They're hanging everywhere. But we're getting a lot of bedding. And I think part of it is that people want to freshen their house for the spring. And I think part of it is because they want to try to get rid of anything that might be there. But just, it was just one email and we're getting quite a bit.
Awesome.
Good.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Very good idea.
Cynthia, did you have something else to add?
Yeah, could I just say one more thing about that? The thing too with the household items, we're at a position now where yeah, we're open very few hours and we're down to, you know, 1 day for the route service, each route 1 day. And we've had to let our pressers go. So the household items are easy for us to do without having the experienced pressers. So that's a help too.
Anything else? Anything else that anybody else would like to add? All right, well, I think we'll go ahead and call it for now. Again, we're going to be here again tomorrow and Friday. And then starting next week, I think we'll move to a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You can expect to see an update notice from me here probably in the next day or two. And if you want to review, you should get an email with a link to a recording for this webinar. This one will also wind up on our YouTube page. And anybody else on the Spot side have anything else to add?
I would just say thank you for joining us, and we're still here for you. Any questions or concerns you have, feel free to join back up on another webinar.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, we thank you, and we hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day, and or as wonderful as possible, given the circumstances. And like Nicole said, we are here for you, and we are we're all working from home, and it's business as usual for us. So again, thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.